Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source, quality, affordable land, this time in the state of Arizona. Yes, people, we are back for the first time in a long time in the Grand Canyon state with a property that I am pretty excited to be offering. This one, as you can see from the headline, sits in close proximity to the Grand Canyon. I will tell you that it also sits in close proximity to about 7 bajillion other kind of fantastic things out there. State parks, national parks, general sights to see. I did not realize the full breadth and depth of how many things there were to do in this portion of the state until I started researching this. So we'll talk about that later in the video. It should be noted, guys, as pointed out here in the headline, the property also sits in close proximity to not one, but 2 national forests. So, as I have discovered in my research, properties in this region tend to be popular with hunters. Because of that close proximity, some people buy these properties, use them as seasonal, sort of secondary home type of things. Some of them just use them as hunting cabins, just during hunting season. They build a hunting cabin out there, and some people just use them as a sort of base camp. Everybody sleeps here, leaves in the morning, comes back here at the end of the night, so on and so forth. Now, before we get started, I will caution you guys, this property does have a POA, a Property Owners Association, associated with it. I will tell you, though, that I would not be buying and listing land in a region where I found the POA to be too strict. Their covenants and restrictions are what we like to call reasonable good neighbor covenants and restrictions. And generally speaking, I would describe this as an RV-friendly property, and I'll get into that more a little bit later. Point being, guys, if you are the type to blanch at that sort of thing, I will first caution you that it was difficult to find what I would describe as even decent land in this part of the state that does not have some kind of POA, number one, and number two, as noted, this one does not seem too difficult to deal with. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get to introing the property. This is reference number CCAZ-2885, located, guys, in my new favorite county to say, Coconino County, up in the northern portion of the state. Specifically, this one sits in the South Rim Ranch Subdivision. It is a scooch more than 36 acres, so this is a large chunk of land, and as you saw up top, guys, we're offering this one for $44,000 or just a little bit more than $1,000 per acre. So let's start off, as we always do, by pulling this up on a map, showing you guys exactly where this is. As with all of our listings, we have GPS coordinates here, guys. 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of them, and voila, onto the Google Maps shall appear a map of Arizona. So first off, guys, it should be noted that this property sits up here in Coconino County. Coconino has got to be one of the largest, speaking now of square acreage, largest counties within the country. It's certainly got to be top 5, but it occupies a lot of land up here in the northern portion of the state. The subject property, if all you know is Phoenix, sits about 3+ hours north of Phoenix. That being said, you're in an area which is roughly within the I-40 corridor. I-40, of course, going east to west across the state. And along the I-40 corridor, you've got a lot of built-up towns everybody's heard of, like Winslow, like Flagstaff, Sedona, just a little bit south of that, Williams, Ash Fork, and Kingman, etc. So point being, you are never too far from a developed town. Williams, down here, if we zoom in, is roughly about 45 minutes south of the subject property. Flagstaff over here, as well as, I want to say Ash Fork, are both about an hour from the subject property. Yeah, both about an hour in drive time from the subject property. Should be noted, guys, Flagstaff is going to be the area that you would go to as far as groceries and supplies. There's a little bit of that available within the backyard of this property, but not as much as you would like. So down here, Flagstaff is your nearest sort of fully developed town with schools, churches, medical facilities, dining, shopping, nightlife, so on and so forth. Normally, we like to have photos of the nearby towns displayed on our website. That being said, our photographer was a little pressed for time this time, so we do not have that. Nonetheless, Flagstaff over here would be the closest developed town with just a lot of sort of amenities. Anyway, guys, most notably, however, within very close proximity of the subject property, specifically about 30 minutes north of the property, is the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon National Park, of course, one of the major tourist destinations, not only for Americans, but people all around the world flock to see this thing. And we are offering you the opportunity to own land within 30 short minutes of the Grand Canyon. So first, let's zoom in on the map here for a second. This area up here, there's a couple subdivisions so this is US Highway 180, this is Route 64 right here. There's a couple subdivisions that sit within this area, but this one up here, this one that you see carved out a little bit like this, and this is the South Rim Ranch Subdivision. South Rim, of course, named for the south rim of the Grand Canyon. If we go to satellite view, guys, We can zoom in here on the subject property, which is located here just off of North South Rim Ranch Road. Well named. Anyway, 36 acres sitting right here. Of course, the Google Maps does not have the plat overlay, so for reference, we will direct your attention to the photo gallery on the listing page, which has the Google Earth overlay of the general size, shape, location, footprint of the subject property. Additionally, guys, as always, we like to supply you with plat maps because sometimes people accuse us of making up geometric shapes. We don't do that. This is the subject parcel right here, as indicated by the South Rim Ranch plat map. Anyway, back to the map for a second, guys. Should be noted that the road that it sits on, the awkwardly named North-South Rim Ranch Road, is the main road going through the subdivision. It leads you out right here to Route 64, so basically a straight shot to the subject property. Now, quick thing that I want to point out, the road over here, no utilities at the road right here. Nearest utilities end, I believe, about 2 miles west of that. If I zoom in on the map, you can kind of see them over here. Here's the utility easement right here, and this is, excuse me, it's this house. This is the house where it ends at. So you can see 1, 2, 3, but nothing going this way, nothing going in the direction east out to the subject property. That being said, there are a number of developed home sites out here, such as this one, which looks pretty nice in close proximity to the land, as well as some other ones over here, such as this one, which also look nice. They do not have utilities going out to them. These two would be utilizing solar panels. If you purchase this land, of course, you can investigate either alternative. That being said, solar is probably the most affordable and most logical for this region. With all that said, guys, let me just direct your attention back to the photo gallery just to show you some pictures of the subject property out here. First off, this is the turnoff from Route 64 out to South Rim Ranch Road. As we enter here, you can see not only, number one, just sort of the entrance. This is the, I'm going to call it like the main office. I'm going to call it like the POA office over here, Property Owners Association office. But as you can go through this, you can see the road frontage here along this South Rim Ranch Road. Very well maintained. Our photographer reported that it could be navigated by any vehicle type. This is actually, from what I have seen of this Property Owners Association, this is one of the few things they really seem to concern themselves with is the conditions of the road. And, you know, of course, it's helpful in this kind of weather, but it's extra helpful when it snows or rains out here. Things don't get washed out. Things don't become impassable. Of course, up here in northern Arizona, you will encounter snow. So it's nice to know that the association is actually maintaining that and taking care of these things. Within the property itself, you see there's a good deal of vegetation out here. There's also some good cutout areas. So if you do purchase the property with the intention of developing it, obviously there's some areas that you can already begin developing without having to do too much landscaping, too much excavation, too much knocking down of trees, etc. But if you also decide to use the property just as a sort of, you know, come out for a month, camp, RV, whatever, can also be utilized for those purposes, though I will get into specifics a little bit more. Anyway, quick thing, guys. I just want to direct your attention back to the map for a second here. So a lot of the photos in the photo gallery are going to be a little visually redundant. There's only so much that you could show of trees out here. I do, however, just want to take a moment to point out some of the things that are within close proximity of this besides the Grand Canyon that I had mentioned earlier. Now, on the listing page itself, we've got a little section down here of just sort of everything that sits in this region. If you're unfamiliar with some of these things, I'd encourage you to click on some of those links. You can learn more about just sort of points of interest. We also have them enumerated down here in the table. Whatever the case, out of this long list, let me just go through some of the highlights. Obviously, the Grand Canyon is out here, very close to that. Everybody's familiar with the Grand Canyon, but it should be noted that you are also close to Lake Powell up here, where, of course, they've got a lot of great activities, you know, dune buggies, you know, kayaks, things like that. Obviously, hiking, camping, trails, so on and so forth. All very close by, also about 30 minutes north of the subject property. Glen Canyon sits in that same general area, tends to straddle the Arizona-Utah border, but a lot to do and see out here. And, of course, as I was talking about earlier, as far as hunting opportunities, the Coconino National Forest, also in this region. If we go back to the map, I just pulled back a little bit. Coconino, I believe, is 1.8 million acres. It is this giant swath of green that you see right here. And then you've got the Kaibab National Forest, which is about 1.6 million acres. And by the way, I consulted Google on that pronunciation, so if I'm totally massacring it, feel free to ridicule me here in the YouTube comments section. Whatever the case, Kaibab is up here in National Forest in this region. Coconino down here, and the subject property, of course, is sandwiched just between the two. So a lot of great hunting opportunities within very close proximity to the property, etc. Anyway, let me get back to the photo gallery for just a second here, guys. So this is more shots of the land. As I noted earlier, they become a little visually redundant. As noted, there are no utilities available on this property. There's no fencing on the property. There are probably some property boundary markers out there, though our photographer could not find them. Blah, blah, blah. That being said, guys, if you scroll down here toward the end of the photo gallery, you can see, as always, we like to do the drone overlays, just to give you a sense of the size, shape, footprint of the property, as well as exactly how much vegetation versus how many cutout areas you have within the region. And, of course, you can go through here, and you can see more about that. I will also tell you guys that we will have a drone video down here at the bottom of the page, which you can review to get a sense of the exact geography of the region, the property, the terrain, the surroundings, etc. Now, let's talk about this POA. Let's talk about the organization that governs this region, some of their rules, covenants and restrictions, etc. So we talk about it up here in the table. The POA, HOA, these are interchangeable terms, but this is governed by HomeCo, HOAM Co., which is a management company that, as we write up here, oversees a number of developments throughout the state. If you click on this link, it will take you to their website. And let me just show you what that looks like right now. This is a pretty generic website, guys, and it seems to me like they have a number of properties throughout the state, so they've kept the website relatively generic. From what I have seen and read, they collect $180 annually for road maintenance fees. I can't tell if they're doing much else out there as far as developing the region. It doesn't seem like they are. So my guess is the $180 a year is the most you're going to hear from this organization, unless you do something really nutty on the land that is frowned upon. So my guess is they're pretty hands-off. They don't really have a website devoted just to the South Rim Ranch subdivision, and they don't have a Facebook page for South Rim Ranch. So this is about as good as it gets. Nonetheless, if you do have questions for them and you want to reach out to them, there's contact information on this page. There's also, hello, where's it at? There is also some contact information here, and we have it reiterated in the table down below. Point being, if you do want to call them, my guess is they've got so many properties that they control, you'd have to call and say, hey, I'm looking to buy some land in South Rim Ranch. If you do have any questions, you could start it off that way, and they could probably answer them from there. So a couple quick things to note, guys. Aside from the $180 annual dues, which seem to only be for road maintenance, there is a 12-month time limit on building. Just to be clear, people, buy the land, own it for 100 years, do nothing with it. Nobody cares about anything, okay? The day that you say, hey, I'm going to break ground on whatever, a house. I'm going to build a house out here. That's the day that the clock starts. That's the day when you've got that building permit and you actually break ground. That's what that time limit concerns itself with. So generally speaking, these HOAs tend to say they want construction, quote, diligently prosecuted, which is to say, don't leave an eyesore on the land. Day 366, probably nobody shows up and finds you. It really just means don't leave some half-built structure on the land. Make the neighborhood look nice. You and your neighbors, let's keep property values, up, okay? Anyway, with that said, let's talk about the covenants and restrictions. We have them linked down here. If you click on this link, it's going to bring this up right here in this one. Now, there's two versions of this that we have on the website. One is just the covenants and restrictions. The others are linked down in the table. It's a little bit longer version of this. But the CCRs, if you read this over, a lot of people get worried about these things. And I've seen a lot of HOAs that write covenants and restrictions that are particularly onerous, ridiculous in how strict they are. This is not that. And instead of me reading that, let me just show you what I have written down here, guys. Per the South Rim Ranch covenants, mobile and modular homes are acceptable here as long as they're not older than 5 years and their foundations are skirted. That does not seem too hard to abide by. Minimum square footage requirements stipulate that the dwelling must be at least 480 square feet. I can't imagine you'd find one smaller than that. But, of course, that also opens you up to the possibility of building a tiny home out here, though I'd encourage you to check with the HOA. Just confirm your plans with that before spending $44,000. But that's certainly what I got from reading those documents. Additionally, guys, South Rim Ranch covenants, RVs and travel trailers are permitted up to 3 consecutive months, though may not be used as permanent dwellings. That being said, I will say, guys, if your plan is just to go out RVing, camping, you're going to go see America this summer, I don't think there's any better place to be doing it than up in northern Arizona, based off just some of the attractions I discussed earlier, as well as the Grand Canyon. But to be in the backyard of all those things, plus the other ones we have listed on this page, Other ones such as, what else? Slide Rock National Park, Walnut Canyon, Meteor Crater. All that's right there in your backyard. To be able to RV and camp out there for 3 months, I mean, that's the entire summer. That's a pretty good deal. Anyway, those are the 2 major bullet points within these covenants that I want to bring to your attention. Everybody always asks, can I build this? Can I park that? Those are the things most people concern themselves with. But if you bother to read through the rest of these, and again, guys, I would encourage you to do that. Most of this just has to do with you can't build a medical facility on the land. Okay, I don't think anybody's going to try that anyway. No churches. Vehicles. This is a good one. Any motor vehicle under repair or inoperable may not be parked on any roadway, driveway, or other easement. Blah, blah, blah. Trash. No parcel may be used for temporary or permanent storage of rubbish. Junkyards. They don't want any junkyards out there. These are all good things. And I believe that if you're going to spend $44,000 on a property, you want to make sure that it's not worth half that amount in 5 years, right? You want to make sure that the area is kept up nicely, that if there is a property owners association, the thing that they do concern themselves with is the value of the properties and making sure that, values continue to rise within the region and that they don't suffer. And these are the kinds of things that cause property values to suffer. So the fact they haven't enumerated, no, you can't have this, the fact that they're enforcing that I think is a good thing. They've got some notations here about livestock, which you want to read if you do plan on owning any horses, etc. And nuisance activities. This is my favorite one, the way this is written. The unusual, unnecessary, prolonged, or indiscriminate creation of noise, dust, fumes, or odors, or any other offensive activity is prohibited. Okay, seems pretty reasonable. And I would think that if I were buying land out there, I would want that in the covenants and restrictions as well. I don't want to know somebody's enforcing that. The rest of these have to do with setbacks, easements, things like that. Mineral rights, grazing rights. Nothing too heady in here, guys. Nothing too heady, nothing too onerous. Whatever the case, I would encourage you guys to review that at your leisure. Back to the listing page for just a second, guys. Do want to point out to the APS, Arizona Public Services. This is the utility company that services this region. At least from what I can tell, they service a lot of the region. It seems like there's actually a couple utilities out there. As noted, nearby power is roughly about 2 miles west down the road, so not necessarily sure if that's something that you'll want to mess around with, trying to get that extended. The cost, logistics involved in that might be prohibitive. That being said, reaching out to the actual utility company and asking them about what's involved in that is always a good strategy. Additionally, guys, we also have linked here on the table and in the county contacts below the Arizona Department of Water Resources. This is the statewide government entity that oversees water rights, well permits, things like that. Their website, there we go. Their website is linked right there. You can go on here, and at the very least, you could do some research on local well drillers within the region. You can kind of look up who's out there and talk to them about, hey, I'm looking to buy some land in South Rim Ranch. What's the water table like out there? What's it going to take for me to get water to the property? What is the cost to drill down, cost per foot of drill depth, things like that. They can always advise you better about that than we can. And of course, it's always a good thing to research in advance of purchase. Additionally, guys, we will have linked here on the table under this paragraph about hunting, a link right here to the Arizona Game and Fish Department, which will talk about how to get a hunting permit out here. If you are not from the state, if you're not familiar with this process, visiting this website is going to give you some good insights to that. By the way, I forgot to mention, out there in the Coconino Forest, within that region in general, you've got a lot of elk, a lot of antelope, mule and white-tailed deer, bears. That's what gets hunted out there a lot. But of course, anything on 4 legs is probably open season on anything. So, nonetheless, it's an excellent hunting opportunities and really right around the corner from the subject property. Anyway, with all that said, guys, I think that covers it for the major points of this. This is a property that we closed on, and we got title insurance through Pioneer Title out there in Coconino County. So if this is something you are interested in purchasing, we will be providing a warranty deed for you. Whatever the case, the way to begin that process, just come up here, click the Buy Now button, guys. It's going to take you to a secure checkout. Voila, right there. Where we're going to ask you for a non-refundable, people, let me say it one more time, non-refundable earnest money deposit of $500. We do not anticipate, we would not ask you to pay $44,000 with a credit card. That'd be nutty business, guys. Okay, so we just ask for $500. It kicks the process off. It shows us that you're serious. You give us some basic information on this page, legal name for deed, tax address, so on and so forth. Agree to the terms and conditions. And on the next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to place that non-refundable $500. It should be noted, guys, that the way we like to do these, or the way that we recommend for our buyers, is when you get into this price range, let's close through a title company. Okay, this gives you better peace of mind as a buyer, knowing that you're not handing your money directly to strangers on the internet. You've got a neutral third party, an intermediary that deals with property conveyance all the time, which is to say a title company. And if you would like to learn more about this, guys, we've got a page on our website called How It Works Buying From Us. You come to that page and you can read more about the title and escrow process. It's very simple, guys. You put down the money, we draft a contract, you sign it, we sign it, and we submit it to the title company, and they do the rest. And usually it takes them about a month to do the rest. So about 30 days later, they ask you for the remaining $43,500. They ask us to sign a deed, and they do not. Release your money to us until such a time as the property has been conveyed to you. So again, additional peace of mind for you, the buyer. We've got a copy of one of our sale purchase agreements here, guys. This is a generic version of one of our standard contracts. Very simple, very easy, one page for signatures. This is the thing we're going to be asking you to sign. So if you're wondering, what am I going to be asked to sign before you put down money, just come to this page. You can look at it. You can see exactly what we're asking you to sign up for. And if you've got a lawyer in the family, you want him to look at it, that is fine with us. Additionally, guys, if you're unfamiliar with the title escrow process, if I just went too fast through all this, just come down here, click this link. We got a page on our website, Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions. There is no question that we have ever been asked about the title escrow process that is not covered on this page. So we would encourage you, if you're unfamiliar with the process, you want to learn more before you start giving us your money, read through this. It will answer every question that you have. Nonetheless, just to be clear, guys, this is a $44,000 cash purchase. There is no financing offered on this property. So if you do not have the full amount, you should probably not put down the $500. Anyway, guys, with all that said, lots to like about this property. I went fast through a lot of it, but there's a lot of great details about this. We've got a lot here in the property-specific notes that are going to cover this in greater detail than what I just went through. But nonetheless, a really big chunk of land, affordably priced, very close to the Grand Canyon. I think that's an enviable piece of property to own, to be able to say to your friends and relatives and neighbors, hey, I own some land out by the Grand Canyon. I'm going to go out there and camp all summer. I'm going to go live the life. I'm going to go explore the forests, explore the trails, everything to see and do in nearby Flagstaff and Sedona. Enviable property. So I hope you guys feel the same way. And thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or leave a comment here on the YouTube channel. As always, guys, thanks for your attention spans.